Hello everyone! At least once in your life you've probably wanted to find treasure, preferably without going to a pirate island looking for it or crawling through ancient tombs, but simply by digging a small hole in the backyard. Or maybe you dreamt of finding a hiding place behind the closet with some gold coins in it to buy a new console and a whole pile of your favourite snacks and sweets. Sometimes you can find something amazing, however. It may not always be pleasant, and sometimes it may be even really scary. So in today's video, we're going to show you 10 strange things people have found in their houses. Let's get it on. Nuclear bunker. Are you sure there's nothing suspicious in your yard? Are you? Really? One family in Wisconsin thought like you, and they absolutely did not expect to find a real and fully staffed nuclear bomb shelter in their backyard. The fact is that these bunkers were very popular after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and were built all over the US. Of course, the residents of this house were very surprised when they accidentally found this underground structure on their property. By the way, for a long time they didn't even dare to go down. Well, who knows, there might be some evil rats or ninja mutant turtles inside. But one day the curiosity took over them. The owners of the house went down the stairs under the ground, and there they saw, no, not some mysterious monster, and not even Master Splinter. Turned out that it was just a well-preserved bunker filled with vital items. They found all sorts of boxes with candles, toffee, and even paper towels, which were still usable, even 50 years later. Well, we can only envy the owners of this house, because now they have an annual stock of food and other important stuff, and a great place for a nuclear party, and they probably can use the bunker to hide from their annoying neighbors. The skeleton of an ancient person. We know you probably wouldn't like to find some old bones in your garden. Ew, sounds pretty disgusting. This couple from Canada wasn't so lucky. They accidentally found in the backyard of their house an ancient Native American burial ground. Of course, the couple was shocked, so they immediately reported their findings to the specialists. Obviously, the experts couldn't remain indifferent, and a whole study was carried out, with a bunch of different complex analyses and all sorts of chemical reagents. Turned out that the found skeleton laid in the earth for about 1600 years. Experts claim that the remains belonged to an ancient woman who died when she was 24 years old, but archaeologists were especially surprised by the teeth of this skeleton, because they were not just well preserved, but so perfectly even and beautiful that many Hollywood actresses would envy such a smile. Perhaps ancient dentistry hides more mysteries than we're used to think. Gold coins. As you can see now, you can find a real treasure in your backyard, if you dig well, of course. Take, for example, this couple from San Francisco. In 2014, they made a discovery that turned their lives upside down. Under a tree near their house, the family found some very unique coins, which today are considered the greatest treasure in US history. Most of the coins were from the 19th century and were made of pure gold, and there are about 1,500 of them. Of course, their nominal value wasn't big, but due to their rich history, the coins were sold at auction for a huge amount of money. For example, a rare $20 gold coin with a double eagle went under the hammer for $15,000. Yes, you heard it right. And the whole collection was estimated at $10 million, and that was even before the bidding. So these lucky bastards from San Francisco are much richer now thanks to their accidental discovery. And at the same time, this story increased the popularity of treasure gardening. Alligator. It all started when the owners of a house in Florida woke up at 4 in the morning from a loud splash in their pool. They probably expected to see their neighbor's dog or some local bully, but not a huge 10-foot-long alligator. The shocked couple didn't want to get acquainted with the unexpected visitor, so they rushed back home and called the rescue services. While they were waiting for the alligator specialists, the family spent its time usefully. They decided to arrange a photo session for the animal while it was relaxing, and we must admit that some of the photos turned out to be quite amazing. The rescue service spent several hours trying to take the giant beast out of the pool, because it didn't want to stop bathing at all and felt quite comfortable. The dangerous predator was sent to a special farm, and the owners of the pool got a few cool photos for the family album. The magic jug. Frankly, this story sounds a bit creepy. A guy in Costa Rica was quietly engaged in some gardening and dug several small holes to plant his favorite flowers in the backyard. Suddenly, his shovel came across a mysterious object that turned out to be a sealed container. The man probably read too many tales about Aladdin, so he decided to examine the object and open it. Unfortunately, there was no genie inside, but there was a picture of the owner of the house in her youth, a piece of cloth from a dress, and a sheet of paper with a curse. The man found out that the previous resident of this house got evicted, however, not because of their debts or loud music, but on suspicion of witchcraft.
I curse you! Nice try, buddy.
But the mysterious sorcerer turned out to be a kind fellow and agreed to remove the curse. He filled the hole with holy water and burnt the curse out of the found things. According to him, this should have neutralized all possible spells. Well, mischief managed, right? Projectile. You might think that nothing can go wrong during a common cleaning. There's nothing unusual about wiping the dust and washing the floor, right? But not everyone is ready to agree with this. One woman named Linda DeForest was cleaning her new home and suddenly found a strange object in the basement, very similar to an artillery shell. The object was heavy, green, and looked too suspicious to be ignored. By a lucky coincidence, Linda's neighbor Joshua Blankenship was a war veteran, and the woman turned to him for advice. Once he examined the found object, the veteran determined it was a real shell. Moreover, it was not neutralized, which means that it represented a serious danger to others. Linda was shocked and immediately called the specialists, who took the ammunition to a safe place and destroyed it. And we can only guess how such a dangerous thing ended up in the basement of an ordinary house in the suburbs. Roman villa. When this Englishman from Wiltshire County was laying an electric cable in his garden, he couldn't imagine that he would discover not just a treasure, but the biggest archaeological object of the last decade. At first, he just stumbled upon an old and very beautiful mosaic, but it turned out to be nothing compared to what archaeologists managed to find further. Actually, there was a whole Roman villa on the territory of the house, dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries of our era, and not some humble country house of a legionnaire, but a real palace, which probably belonged to one of the Roman emperors. The first results of the excavation showed that the villa had 3 floors and belonged to a very rich family. So why couldn't it be the property of some emperor, right? In the backyard, the researchers found coins, expensive brooches, and a well-preserved well. Today, the investigation continues, and who knows what other fantastic discoveries could be made on the territory of the ancient villa. Serpent's Den. Buying a new home is always a very joyful and exciting experience, but sometimes a pleasant excitement can turn into a nightmare. We don't want to freak you out, but Ben and Amber Sessions really had a hard time. In 2009, they moved to a cozy house and they were already making plans for a long and happy life when they suddenly noticed that there were way too many snakes around. Not 2, not 3, and not even 5. In just one day, the owner of the house killed 43 of them. And although these were just some little innocent garden snakes, this amount would scare even the Dark Lord. According to Amber, snakes were literally everywhere, even inside the walls, and at night the young family could hear an ominous rustling and feel a characteristic snake-like smell. Ugh. Later it turned out that the neighbors knew about it, but for some reason none of them considered it necessary to warn the new neighbors. In the end, the upset couple left this sinister place, and we honestly think nobody can blame them for it. A secret inhabitant. You've probably heard that many children have imaginary friends to play games and avoid feeling lonely. Screenwriters love to use this kind of story for their horror movies, frightening viewers with ghosts or other creepy, otherworldly stuff. But sometimes, cinematic tricks can penetrate into real life. Once upon a time, 2 brothers were playing in their room when one of them accidentally fell on the bookshelf. The shelf moved slightly, and the children saw a secret passage behind it. They were curious and went inside, where they found several toys that they'd lost before. It looked like some invisible creature was taking the toys to the secret room. Once in the place, the police determined that an unknown resident of the house had entered his hidden refuge through the parents' bedroom, and he'd done so many times. However, the detectives couldn't define his identity or the reasons behind his behavior. Maybe it's not a person at all, but the mysterious ghost of the previous owner of the house. What do you think? Giant egg. In 2015, Jose, a humble farmer from Argentina, was walking around his house when he suddenly came across a strange object. It was a huge black stone of oblong shape that looked like a meteorite or a dinosaur egg. For obvious reasons, the man was astonished. He hurried home to talk about the finding to his loved ones, but they just laughed at him. Well, come on. How come a dinosaur laid eggs near Buenos Aires? At first glance, it was difficult to determine the size of the object because it was completely covered with mud, but Jose began to slowly dig it out, and it soon became clear that the width of the supposed egg of the ancient lizard was about 3 feet. Even for the biggest dinosaurs, that was too much, and indeed, no living thing on this planet ever laid such large eggs. Later, experts established that it was not an ancient egg, but the carapace of an animal that had died out over 12,000 years ago. The carapace belonged to a glyptodont, the grandfather of modern armadillos, and was in excellent condition. No, not because the ancient owner took care of it, but thanks to the clay soil in which the shell lay all these years. Of course, there were skeptics who said that this was all mockery and fraud, but experts confirmed the authenticity of the shell and the fact that there is still a lot to discover under the ground. Thanks for watching. Please like and share the video in social networks, and we'll be right back to you as fast as we can.